Hello, my name is Taya Graham, and welcome to the Police Accountability Report. As I always make clear, this show has a single purpose: holding the politically powerful institution of policing accountable. And to do so, we don't just focus on the bad behavior of individual cops. Instead, we examine the system that makes bad policing possible. And today, we will achieve that goal by showing you this video of how El Paso police planned and plotted to retaliate against a family that had sued them over an illegal arrest. A disturbing move by police that ended in yet another questionable set of charges and even more pain for the family that has to endure it. But before I get started, I want you watching to know that if you have video evidence of police misconduct, please email it to us privately at par@therealnews.com or reach out to me on Facebook or Twitter at Taya's Baltimore, and we might be able to investigate for you. And please like, share, and comment on our videos. It helps us get the word out, and it can really help our guests. And you know I read your comments and appreciate them, and I even write back. And you see those hearts down there. I've even started doing a comment of the week to show you how much I appreciate your thoughts and show what a great community we have. All right, we've gotten that out of the way. Now, as we've discussed repeatedly on this show, the greatest obstacle to holding police accountable is their power to retaliate. That is, police are afforded unusual latitude and discretion to use the law against their critics. And no case better illustrates this idea than the video I'm showing you right now. It depicts the El Paso Police Department surveilling a family they had illegally arrested before, a previous violation of their rights that led to a lawsuit against the department. But after the lawsuit was filed, the police began a protracted investigation into the family, a possible case of harassment that proves our point about how police can target and terrorize the people who push back against them. The story actually starts in 2022. That's when high school senior and El Paso resident Adzari Holguin had been asked to film police at the request of a relative who had called them because of a domestic disturbance. The relative wanted the interaction recorded to ensure her rights were respected. But when Adzari started to film, the police reacted. Take a look.
You just grabbed my phone out of my hand and physically assaulted me. That is, recording is within my full right. You cannot have to. Can I get your name and badge number, please? No, can I have your name? E. Pineda? Okay, but there's no reason for her to get physical with me.
Just you take off. Now. You want to be arrested for interference or take off? Your choice.
Interference with what?
My investigation.
Investigation of what?
Family violence.
But what am I doing? Why are you doing this? What am I doing?
Investigation, ma'am.
You have to do that.
You want to go in for interference or can you leave, please?
Interference of what? For what? How am I interfering?
I'm going to give you one last chance.
How am I interfering?
Do you want to be under arrest for interference or do you want to take off?
There is no reason for you to arrest me. What? Why are you touching her? You cannot touch her.
I will not hit you, but do not touch me.
All right.
I will not.
I'm going to get you both for interference.
After Adzari's father, Eddie, intervened and escorted his daughter home, El Paso police decided that leaving the premises was not enough. Instead, they raided the family home, cuffed and arrested both Adzari and her father. Just watch. Now, after this troubling arrest, the family fought back. The charges of resisting and evading police were dropped, and they filed a lawsuit alleging the department violated their civil rights. And that case is still being adjudicated. But roughly 1 year later, Adzari was home one day when, to her shock, she spotted police surveilling her driveway. Concerned, she grabbed her camera to document their actions. Let's take a look.
I'm here! Aquí estoy! ¿Qué quieren estos? I think they took your license plate.
The police soon scatter, but the video footage shows what appears to be the officers writing down the license plate number of her father's work van. Adzari confronts them, and they refuse to answer her questions. See for yourself. Police leave without explaining the intrusion, but that's not where this story ends. Not hardly, because roughly 1 month after they surveilled his van, detectives show up at the family residence again.
Can you call my dad real quick, Eddie? Let him know that there's some cops here. Can you call my dad real quick? Let him know that there's some cops here. May I ask for your name and badge number, sir?
Detective Armendariz, number 2720.
And you, sir?
Detective 2425.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
May I ask what you're doing here?
Oh, your dad's an adult. We gotta explain to him what we're here for.
I'm an adult as well, and he's not here at the moment, so I'd appreciate if you explain it to me, because I also live here.
Okay. Is he here or not?
Can I ask what you're doing here, sir?
Okay, easy. I'll just drop it off with you and give it to him, please.
Can I
Thank
ask
you.
what you're doing here, sir?
Ma'am, it's an criminal investigation.
For?
Don't worry, he's an adult.
I'm worrying about it, and I'd appreciate it as my public servant if you answered my questions.
Have a good day.
Have a good day, ma'am.
Thank you.
It's a lovely day outside, isn't it?
It would be lovelier if you explained what you were doing here.
It's a criminal investigation.
The department is hiring you just in case you're interested.
How professional. So professional of servants to not explain their reasons here.
Good day, ma'am.
Now, Adzari calmly asked them what crime they're investigating. The detectives again refused to answer. Why they refused to justify their apparent secrecy is unclear. It's a Kafkaesque moment that only raises more suspicions about what police are actually up to. But the police are not done. Just a month later, they pull over Eddie and Adzari and claim the insurance and registration on his van have expired. Take a look.
Why right now?
How's it going? Officer Burrow, Paso Police Department. Sure, your insurance your registration's expired.
It shouldn't be.
No.
It's not. I have insurance and everything.
Okay, my partner's coming on the other side.
It's a goddamn the accountant. He's the one that takes care of that number.
Yeah, your work truck. Do you work here?
I'm looking at an address. I live over there.
Oh, you live over here? Okay,
yeah, but
cool.
I'm looking for an address right here.
Now, Eddie pushes back, but soon police change tactics. First, without explaining why, they ask him to step out of the vehicle. Notice that Eddie is nursing an injured arm. And why? Because the last time they arrested him, police pulled him up from the ground as he was handcuffed, wrenching his shoulder and wrist. And now, and you'll learn more about this later, he shares with us that he can't fully control his arm or make fine motor movements with his hand. But again, the police don't seem to care.
Listen slowly, okay? I'm going to see your hands, okay?
That one hurts a lot.
You put your stuff down, okay, sir? You don't have anything on you, all right?
Yeah.
Step out of the vehicle.
He's hurt. He's hurt.
My hand.
Can you step out of the vehicle?
Don't hurt him, please. A criminal warrant? For what?
Turn around, turn around.
I don't have the details yet, but they advise that he has a criminal warrant.
Let me see your hands.
Put down.
If you want to put 2 handcuffs, we're gonna put 2 handcuffs. Is that
Go
cool?
over my hand, bro.
Okay.
Be careful with his hand.
Face
I'm
the
gonna
van,
take
please.
this. I'm gonna take
Sir,
this
face-
off.
Please
face the van.
don't be.
No,
We'll do it right
we
now.
will take
We'll
it
do it
off.
right now.
We'll take it off.
Just turn around.
Now, suddenly, police reveal that Eddie has a warrant. What the warrant is for, they don't initially say, but they commence to arrest him anyway. Just watch.
Don't reach.
Just,
Stay in the car.
I'm okay.
He's in the car.
I'm in the car. I'm in the car.
That's fine.
Okay, let me just please let me just. I need his mace, and I need. It's. Can I go get it? I don't want you to hurt me.
I'll give it to you right now.
Can I have his wallet?
And now Adzari, concerned about her father's well-being, asked the police the one question they should always be able to answer. Why did they put him in handcuffs? And their answers are revealing. Let's listen to their responses.
I'll give it to you right now. Give me a minute, okay? I'll
Okay.
give you his wallet and his miss.
Why are you arresting him? For what? He hasn't done anything. He doesn't even leave the house.
I don't know about the details. I just know he has a criminal warrant.
Okay, so no details. Not a single justification for putting someone in handcuffs. Not one iota of evidence. But fortunately for Eddie, his daughter Adzari does not relent. In fact, she demonstrates clear resolve and personal courage that perhaps the officers could learn from, because Adzari does not back down, which prompts the officer to pepper her with questions or face losing her family's van. Let's see what happens next.
How old are you?
I don't answer questions.
I'm asking so do you want to take his car or do you want me to impound it?
No, don't impound it.
That's why I'm asking. How old are you? Do you have a driver license so you can take the car?
I don't answer questions.
Okay. Then step out of the vehicle for me. If you don't have a driver license, I can't let you take the van. Okay?
Let me call someone here, please.
Who are you gonna call?
My neighbor.
How old are you?
Let me just figure out a way to get this home. We don't have, please don't impound it. I'll get someone to bring it, drive it home, and I'll sit in the passenger seat.
It can only be you. Do you have a driver license with you?
Why does it have to be me?
I'm not gonna ask somebody else. That's me. Do you have a driver license, girl? Yes or no?
But why does it have to be me?
Because you're the passenger.
And I have a neighbor. I have family. I have friends.
Now, besides the fact that Adzari does not have to answer any questions because she is in fact a passenger, the officer here is also taking part in what we like to call policing in the inequality divide. That's because this entire confrontation with Adzari takes place over the disposition of her father's work van. Basically, his entire livelihood hangs in the balance. And now the officer is threatening to confiscate her ID and perhaps entangle her in the same web, now closing in on her dad. Now, bear in mind, Eddie has not been accused of a traffic violation. And bear in mind that the notion that the passenger has to drive the truck home is entirely a fiction. Still, the officer continues to threaten to take the van and to extract personal information from Adzari. Just watch.
All right, can you just step out and you can go wherever you want?
Let me just call real quick.
I'm asking nicely. Can you step out of the vehicle and then call whoever you want?
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, ma'am. You're good to see them. Can you get a tow truck for...
Don't get a tow truck. We don't need a tow truck.
So do you have a driver license? I'll be glad to give it to you. Do you have one with you?
I don't answer questions. I'm waiting for someone to come pick it up.
Okay, then we'll impound it, ma'am. I'm giving you the opportunity.
Oh my God. People are insufferable. You get a kick out of being a pig, don't you? You love making people's lives miserable. Well, I need to get my things out of the vehicle before you impound it. What do you mean no?
You can't do that.
Yes, I'm getting my...
It's ours.
Now, this is not where their story ends because there is so much more going on behind the scenes, including the shaky evidence behind the questionable charges, what the family is doing to fight them, and why they think the police are targeting them. And these details will be explored when we speak to Adzari and her father, Eddie. But first, I'm joined by my reporting partner, Stephen Janis, who's been reaching out to police and investigating the case. Stephen, thank you so much for joining me.
Tay, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So first, are the police saying anything about Eddie's arrest? How are they justifying the charge?
Well, Tay, like many police departments that I have tried to press for answers on troubling cases, their huge communications department seems to be disproportionate to what they will say about it. I have asked them, I will continue to press them, but no, they haven't said anything, and they don't seem like they want to talk, even though a lot of people are getting paid to answer questions.
So the officer said that the passenger has to drive the vehicle. Is that actually true? And what eventually happened to the van?
Yeah, this is for Pinocchios here, Taya. There is no law in Texas that says a passenger has to drive away a car that has been either impounded or stopped by police. It is absolutely untrue. It's totally false. It's one of those things cops like to do, I think, in these situations to suit their purposes. Make up laws on the fly. Totally untrue. Totally, really obviously disturbingly untrue, but I'll keep looking. Maybe I can find something, but I really, really doubt it.
As we watched the video, I mentioned that this arrest was a perfect example of how law enforcement plays a critical role in our current unequal system. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, what's amazing to me is how police departments want to show us that this is actually true. This has been a theory of ours, and we've had plenty of examples, but it's amazing to me how police will go out and say, yeah, I'm going to actually show you how this works. I'm going to take this guy's van. I'm going to arrest him for something, a crime he didn't commit. I'm going to put his picture up on TV and make him like, a scary criminal who no one's going to want to hire. So they're really cooperating and proving our theory. It is unfortunate. It is tragic. It is horrible, but it is the truth. And I think this particular arrest shows exactly what we mean when we say that.
And now for more on their protracted ordeal and their suspicions about the motivations driving the El Paso Police Department, I'm joined by Adzari and Eddie Holguin. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us.
So my first question for you essentially is to help people understand the video. You and your father were just working on a job when your car was pulled over. What was the reason that the police officer said they were pulling you over?
They said that my ¿cómo se llama? Inspection sticker was expired.
Now, how does it go from an inspection sticker being expired to you being placed in handcuffs? How does that happen?
Well, that's what they told me, but you know, it was kind of weird the way they were acting. Like they were like stalling or telling me to wait, and then we'd be going back and forth, back and forth. But what they were doing is waiting for more of them to show up, because you know how they are. The one or two can't do nothing. They need more than 4, 5, 6 of them. They won't do anything by themselves. They're too scared, I guess. I can't really walk real good and my hand's all messed up, so I can't really do anything. But then they said that I had a warrant for my arrest for
Aggravated
assault with a deadly weapon.
So, Eddie, let me follow up with you here. What is this aggravated assault with a deadly weapon that created this warrant? What were these officers describing? What was the alleged incident?
2 detectives came down here on May 30th looking for me. And I wasn't here. Adzari was here. They asked her, but I think you have the video of that, because I wasn't here. Then she went, I was working, so when she went to where I was working at, she said, this cops went to go look for you. Here's a card. So I got the card and looked at it, and he said, he told me to tell you to call him. Well, that ain't going to work, because I don't call them. I got no business calling them. But the next day he called me. And then he called me. When I answered, he says, Mr. Holguin. And I said, yeah. He says, hey, this is Detective, ¿cómo se llama el güey ese? Armendariz. And I said, yeah. He said, you want to give me a statement? I said, a statement of what? He said, well, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. He said, well, what happened? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what happened. Tell me. He said, well, they said that you shot somebody with a BB gun. I don't have a BB gun. I don't have a pellet gun. I have no kind of guns. The only thing I was doing was cutting the grass. That's it. That's all I know. I never saw anybody out there. And then he says, I got enough to go forward. And I told him, you're trying to make chicken soup out of chicken shit. You're lying. And I hung up. And then on Friday, the next day, that's when we were coming back from work, and that's when I got pulled over. That they said it was for a sticker, for an inspection sticker. But that's not what it was. They were already looking for me. Well, they know where I live.
So let me turn to you, Adzari. During the traffic stop, we're seeing your father being put into handcuffs. What is your understanding of this? What's going through your mind when this is happening?
I was so scared. It was like my nightmares were coming true when they started grabbing at him and then hurting him and arresting him. I didn't know what was going on.
That's why you were recording.
I was recording for that reason, because I felt it in my gut that I needed to record, because you can never not record around them. Something bad always happens when it comes to cops, and it did. And my mind was so all over the place. I couldn't think. My only thing that I could think of was to make sure that I kept my dad on camera, because I didn't want them to do anything to him off camera.
So you actually shared a photo with me of your father's arm and wrist being swollen. Eddie, do you want to talk about what happened to your arm and what the injury is, and if it was re-injured during that arrest?
Yeah, well, I have my wrist is all swollen. I can't use my thumb and this finger, these 2 fingers. I can't use them. I can't move them hardly because it hurts a lot. This is where they hurt me the first time when they came 3 years ago. Gonzalez, that officer or whatever, Gonzalez. She's the one that pulled me out of the car, started banging me on the car, and then she pulled the handcuffs up and messed up my 2 shoulders and my wrists. I heard something pop in my wrist, and it got really bad because they left me handcuffed for 12 hours on that bench over there at the substation. They're supposed to only leave me there for 2. They left me there 12 before they took me to the jail and took off the handcuffs. And now with this time, they left me handcuffed another 12 hours. So it got even worse. And I got more swollen, and then I had gone to some of the therapy. After that, the next week I went to therapy, and they saw my wrist and they said, "Damn, what happened to you?" So I told them, They said, I don't know, we can't do no therapy, or you can't even move them. Before you started to move them, now you can't move them anymore.
Can you tell me what kind of charges, if any, that you're currently facing?
I'm facing aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
It's a second-degree felony that they're trying to put on my dad.
And I just have to make this clear for everyone to understand. I was absolutely shocked when I was told that you were considered a fugitive. So you're facing aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and you're considered a fugitive. Can you just explain to me where this accusation came from?
Well, when they arrested me on Friday, I got out on Saturday about 2:30 in the morning. Then I came home, and Saturday in the evening, they put on the TV that they couldn't locate these people. And I came out there. But they have already been here in my house, I don't know how many times. They don't know where I live. I know they do. They already came 2 or 3 times just for this case.
My dad had been arrested earlier that day on Friday, like around 2 in the afternoon. And by the time he got out, he was already a wanted fugitive. And they were saying that they can't find him, and he came out on the KTSM website, and he came out on Channel 10 News. And to this day, if you look it up on the website, he's still listed as a wanted fugitive, even though he's already been arrested and he's already out. It was funny when I saw that. I was like, what? Turn around. He's right behind you. Like, it was ridiculous.
Thank you both for your answers. And I really appreciate that you explained to me that even though he had already been in jail and they had already processed him and given him charges, he was still listed as a fugitive. And I think that's very important for people to know how this can damage your professional reputation or your personal reputation to be listed this way. So I think it's really important to clear the air here.
I already lost 2 jobs because of this. I went to the other one and they told me that they didn't need my services anymore, but because they saw that on the TV. And then the other one, they just called me and said that they would call me at a later date to go do some work. So I already lost 2 jobs. And then now I haven't had any work for over a month. Nothing.
So a very significant aspect of this case is that you and your father were suing the El Paso Police Department already for another incident of police misconduct and brutality. And I understand you might not be able to talk about the lawsuit in detail, but in your opinion, do you think this warrant and arrest was perhaps a form of intimidation or even retaliation for your family filing a lawsuit?
That's what I believe, because why would somebody come and say that I did something when I haven't even been out there shooting somebody with a BB gun at 2:30 in the afternoon? I don't have a BB gun or a pellet gun. Like I said, we were back there taking the blankets off the sweat lodge. Then I came out here to start cutting the grass, and that happens. Then 2 months later, this detective comes and asks me questions if I want to give a statement 2 months later. But I don't know anything. Like I told him the first time, I don't know what you're talking about. Tells me 2 months later, I still don't know what they're talking about. I didn't do anything to nobody. I don't know where they got somebody to say something about me or how they did it. I believe this has to do with this lawsuit. That's what I believe. I don't know for a fact, but sure looks that way. They don't have no evidence against me. There's nothing. That's why the cops left. And then 2 months later, what is he doing for 2 months? Trying to get somebody to sign something to arrest me because he has no evidence? Something's really bad, smells bad.
Adzari, one of the things I was so amazed by is that you were barely 18 years old and you handled that situation so well. You started recording, you asked for name and badge number. How did you know how important filming the police is? How did you learn how to do that?
It's all thanks to my dad, I had a really good teacher this past few years. If it weren't for him always watching the Real News Network, Direct D, James Freeman, The Audit, Watch the Watchdog, all of them, we watch them on a daily basis. And, you kind of pick some of these things up over the years. If it weren't for that education that I got from my dad, I wouldn't have known, because I didn't know before. They don't teach you this stuff in school.
And I've always told my kids, don't call cops. If you see them, don't get near them. Don't talk to them. Turn around, walk away. Just keep away from them, because those people are no good. They're really not. And they have, I don't know what kind of training, 4 months of training. 4 months. A child walking around with guns.
I know this is a difficult question, but I have to ask you, Eddie, how are you coping with this? I mean, whether financially or physically or even emotionally, how are you coping with the assault and injury that you had with police 3 years ago, and then this new encounter, which must have been very intimidating?
It's really hard because, see, first of all, after all of that happened 3 years ago, I don't go out hardly nowhere. Only if I gotta go to work and come right back. I don't go to Walmart because they got cops there. Anytime they have cops anywhere, I will not go there. I don't go anywhere. I don't even go to the store because I'm afraid of those cops. I go out of the house and I'm going down the road. I see a cop, I'll turn around and come right back to the house. I'm not even going to the store. Adzari has to go on her bike because we don't have another car and she doesn't drive the van. It's too big for her. So she has to go on her bike to get groceries because I won't go. I will not go. I'll just stay home. And it's so difficult staying in this house for so long. And I had cops coming down here after 1 year after my mom had passed. I started having problems with cops. They kept coming down here. They had already accused me of other things, but they always go away because I didn't do anything. I don't leave the house. I just sit here. The only time I go outside to the front is to cut the grass because I don't like to be in the front because a cop passes by. I'm afraid they're going to stop. Today I cut the grass. I was out there at 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning cutting the grass while the sun's barely coming up. Because at that time I go out and pray. But after I pray, then I start the lawnmower because I'm afraid to be out there when there's people out there because I'm afraid they're going to show up again. I can't do this anymore. I hate it here so much. I want to leave, but I can't. Then they don't let me work now.
I know that was difficult to share, and I really appreciate it. My last question is this. If you could speak to the police department in El Paso, Texas, if you could speak to them directly right now and you knew they were listening, what would you want to tell them? Adzari, what would you want to ask of them?
How dare you? How dare you live with yourself, eat breakfast in the morning, be happy, enjoy your life, and sleep comfortably, knowing that you do what you did to us on a daily basis to everyone around here. How dare you walk these streets thinking that you're above us? And how dare you believe that you own me and you can tell me what to do and I have to bow down and listen to you? You do not have the right and you do not have the knowledge that I have. How dare you?
And Eddie, what would you want to tell the El Paso, Texas Police Department?
Just leave me the fuck alone. Go do whatever you want. Just leave me alone. I do not like them. I can't stand them. I see them. I want to run away. I start shaking. Why? Because I know how they are. They have a sign on the side of their car that says serve and protect. Serve and protect who? Yourselves. So you sure as hell don't serve and protect us.
Thank you both so much for being open with us and coming forward to share what happened. We really appreciate you. Now, I think the case we just reviewed is indicative of a phenomenon that plagues this country today and does not get the attention it deserves. It's sort of a institutional malaise, which I believe leads to the type of police behavior we just witnessed, especially the efforts of cops to silence their critics. In part, it's simply the cruelty that arises when people are given indiscriminate power they can use to settle personal scores, like it appears police did in this case. But it's also a structural problem that I think arises from a system that cannot care for the people who actually do the work to make it work. To explain what I mean, I will start with an example. This is a site the El Paso police use to inform the public about dangerous fugitives. It's supposed to make residents aware of violent criminals who are a threat to the community and are still at large. But as you can see here, the El Paso Police Department also decided to feature someone who seems a little out of place, namely Eddie Holguin. That's right, the man we just interviewed, a hardworking contractor who runs his own business and has been raising his wonderful daughters, was such an imminent threat to society that the police had to broadcast his image to the world. A man who has worked his entire life to support his family and contribute to society was now apparently an irredeemable criminal. It is truly shocking, to say the least, for a variety of reasons. The first one being that it seems, based upon the videos we showed you, police actually knew where Eddie was when they posted his photo. I mean, they had his address, apparently, and even if he wasn't home all the time, it's not like there was any evidence that Eddie was engaged in some sort of effort to evade them. And that's the point I'm trying to make. An aspect of the broader unjust system boiled down into the life of a single man. Because the fact that the El Paso police have thrust Eddie into the spotlight is indicative of how the system itself processes the cruelty that defines it. In other words, what we're really witnessing in the case of Eddie and Adzari is how the system that is based upon injustice perpetuates that same injustice in the lives of the people who are forced to endure it. So what do I mean? Well, think about it. After you watch the interview, is there any logical reason to humiliate Eddie by publicly announcing him to be a menace to society? From what you've learned about his life, is there any plausible justification for turning him into public enemy number one? So then why do it? Why turn his life upside down? Well, think about how I described the criminal justice system just a few moments ago. Imagine what that really means. The idea that there is something else going on inside this process of policing that has nothing to do with law enforcement or public safety. Think of it as a new form of symbolic exchange. And okay, before you start saying, Taya, what the heck are you talking about? Please give me a moment to explain. Symbolic exchange was an idea postulated by French cultural theorist Jean Baudrillard. If you're not familiar with him, he's a postmodern thinker who coined the term hyper-reality. For example, like a digitally conjured reality with no meaningful anchor or authenticity in the tactile world. But Baudrillard also thought a lot about capitalism, and his theory of symbolic exchange was part of it. In it, he argued that symbolic exchange was the process of conferring a benefit on someone beyond a physical good or possession, meaning a benefit that is not material, but perhaps spiritual or metaphysical, a gift that is enriched through passion and meaning rather than price. He argued that capitalism and the material world it creates erodes the value of symbolic exchange, which is one reason he thought contemporary capitalism, defined by goods and services, was also personally alienating. But I think his theory could be applied to the present, especially to what we've seen in the behavior of law enforcement that we have demonstrated again and again on this show. Because honestly, so much of what law enforcement does in cases like Eddie's is symbolic, like the most wanted picture. And that symbolism is not only impactful, it can be defining. And of course, I can hear you now commenting in the video saying, Taya, why are you talking about this? I mean, I know you've taken some discursions before, but seriously, a French philosopher, cultural theory, are you serious? Please just give me another minute to hear me out. I think if you really drill down into the current state of American society, you can see that the glue that holds our unfair system of inequality together is largely symbolic. And by shaping and controlling the flow of signs, the dominant powers that be can influence perceptions, behaviors, and ideologies. I mean, how else can anyone explain a system that facilitates private equity firms buying up doctors' practices and then slamming patients with surprise medical bills that bankrupt them? How else can you justify a country where the top 1% holds $38.7 trillion in wealth, more than the combined wealth of the country's squeezed middle class, which possesses just 26% of it? How do you explain a country that has seen its economy grow exponentially over the past few decades and still has roughly the same amount of people living in poverty since the 1970s? It doesn't sound rational, does it? It doesn't even seem logical. And yet, I think it explains quite a bit about how this system works and perhaps how it doesn't. And why, when it does, it swallows the lives of people like Eddie with unquestionable cruelty. Because the system that rewards unjustifiable wealth can only be justified by something other than logic. When a reality simply doesn't make sense, we as human beings often make sense of things through symbolism. Think about how we ascribe so much meaning and import to concepts like love without truly understanding it. But boy, we do represent it through songs and lyrics. And what we can't deduce through logic, we explain through symbols or art or concoctions of poetry. What we can't justify through numbers or data, we explore through imagery and metaphor and art. It's just the way we're wired. But with all human expressions comes the duality of light and dark. This means that when we want to perpetuate an injustice that defies logic, symbolism often makes it work. And in this sense, policing and law enforcement are the purveyors of a symbolic war on the working class, all at the behest of the elite. What they can't justify by the logic of economics, they facilitate with the image of the arrest. When the persistence of poverty calls into question the system that created it, law enforcement steps in to make the poor unworthy through over-policing and unwarranted charges. That's why El Paso police have gone to such extreme lengths to make the lives of Eddie and young Adzari a living hell. Because when us, the people, fight back, we puncture the symbolic logic of late-stage capitalism. When cop watchers turn their cameras on cops who harass them, we reverse the symbolic exchange and reveal the true imperative that drives excessive policing. When we make symbols that contravene theirs, they simply don't know what to do. Well, to make sure they can't turn our guests into symbols of scorn, I'm going to leave you with this symbol. It's a picture of Adzari and her father, Eddie. Two human beings who just want to live a normal, unencumbered life. Not criminals, not threats to society, just two shining examples of humanity. And we don't want the El Paso police to forget it. Again, I want to thank Eddie and Adzari Holguin for coming forward to share their experience. I know it was difficult, and on a personal note, I wish I was as well-informed and brave as Adzari was at her age. She stood on her rights to protect her family, and I think we can all appreciate that courage. Thank you both. And I have to thank Stephen Janis for his writing, research, and editing for this piece. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Tay, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And I want to thank mods of the show, Noli D and Lacey R, for their support. Thank you. And a very special thanks to our Accountability Reports Patreons. We appreciate you, and I look forward to thanking each and every single one of you personally in our next live stream, especially Patreon associate producers John E.R., David K., Louis P., and Lucita Garcia, and our super friends, Shane B., Kenneth K., Pineapple Gold, Matter of Rights, and Chris R. And I want you watching to know that if you have video evidence of police misconduct or brutality, please share it with us, and we might be able to investigate for you. Please reach out to us. You can email us tips privately at par@therealnews.com and share your evidence. You can also message us at Police Accountability Report on Facebook or Instagram, or at Eyes on Police on Twitter. And of course, you can always message me directly at Tea's Baltimore on Twitter and Facebook. And please like and comment. You know I read your comments and appreciate them. And we will have a Patreon link pinned in the comments below. So if you feel inspired to donate, please do. We don't run ads or take corporate dollars, so anything you can spare is truly appreciated. My name is Taya Graham, and I am your host of the Police Accountability Report. Please be safe out there.
Thank you so much for watching The Real News Network, where we lift up the voices, stories, and struggles that you care about most. And we need your help to keep doing this work, so please tap your screen now, subscribe, and donate to The Real News Network. Solidarity forever.